Guys, this next speaker is our second to last speaker. Go. Oh. I know, that's how I feel too. We got two more great ones. Are you guys ready? Let's bring up Curtis again. Come on, make some noise.
You guys are going to bear with me. This was originally intended to be a two-person presentation, but my partner Scott is not able to make it, which anyone who knows is 1,000% on brand for him. I have a couple of married couple who are private money lenders to us, and they have a running joke that in fact Scott does not exist. We've got a Fight Club situation going on, and he is in fact my Tyler Durden, and I am in fact both Curtis Hutchins and Scott Alderson. But anyway, so you just got me. My name is Curtis Hutchins. I'm originally from the East Coast, but I've lived out here for about 26 years, most of that in Seattle. I worked for Google and Microsoft in tech for the last 9 years before anybody starts thinking, wow, I bet you that guy can code like nothing else. I speak French. That's why I got that job. About 2018 or so, I started getting really interested in real estate. I got to the point where I could do my day job in like 4 or 5 hours, so I would just get that done by lunchtime and then head on out and start looking for distressed properties. I decided that real estate was definitely what I wanted to be doing. I just didn't have the cash just yet to live on. So I planned on June 2023, that was when I was going to punch. And then in September of 2020, Microsoft came to me and said, hey, you know that team of 25 people you're on? Well, we're going to make that 4. And fun fact, you're not in the 4. So here's a little bit of severance, have a lovely day. I was like, well, I've got like a very small amount of money here. I'm not ready to go full time. I had friends in the tech industry giving me jobs. And I remember one particular call with like just kind of a phone interview and just felt my soul leaving my body. Just like, I'm trying to be impressive for a job that I do not want. And I got done with that call and I just kind of sat down for a minute. I went down to my girlfriend at the time and I said, I'm going full time in real estate. I do wish that I had a picture of a look of disgust on her face when I told her that. I mean, she wasn't wrong. I had like $35,000 is what I had to do everything with. $8,000 of which went to Mr. Pace Morby in the late 2020. So I had like 27 to work with. I will say though that I've been full-time in real estate ever since. Not one single day have I wished that I could go back to a W-2. Ever. And I will say to those of you who are thinking about it, but you don't think you're quite ready or everything's not right, I'll tell you right now, everything is not going to be right. Just do it. Well, Scott and I have done collectively, between the two of us, about 200 projects, fix and flips, new builds, that sort of thing. But last 4 or so years, the focus, probably like 75% of our business is dad-dos. How many people in here are familiar with what dad-dos are? All right, most of the room, and that's because you guys are from Seattle. No, I mean that. Like when I go to other conferences and I talk about what I do, people do say like, "Oh, you guys have been doing it for quite a while." I get to talk to people on the East Coast, people from California. Seattle in particular has been doing it for quite some time. Where we live, 600 to 1,000 square feet is pretty typical. We've got a stat up there that says that applications are up and development's up 250%. That's kind of an old stat. We're probably a lot closer to 1,000% since 2019 in terms of how much we're doing there. Average rent, about $35,000. That's statewide. If you're in Seattle or Kirkland or Bellevue, that's going to be substantially higher. Normally that's going to take about 6 to 18 months to get done from start to finish. Just to make the distinction, ADU is an attached accessory dwelling unit. I think a lot of people are probably familiar with what those are in terms of like mother-in-law apartments, all that sort of thing. It's part of the original house. The distinction with the dadu is it's a detached accessory dwelling unit. So it is its own house. It's its own freestanding house, and that has some real advantages as far as what it'll sell for, how much you can rent for, all that sort of thing, when you're not sharing a wall with someone else. what has made this a real big deal over the last couple of years is we've had a couple of new bills. There's the ADU rights bill. All Growth Management Act jurisdictions have to allow 2 ADUs per lot. Growth Management Act jurisdictions are basically, for the most part, any city that is 25,000 people or more. They've gotten rid of the owner occupancy requirement that used to be outside of Seattle. If you wanted to put a daddy onto your property, you had to live there, at least for a year or 2 or whatever. Now that does not matter. Impact fees are capped at 50% of what they would do for a normal primary home. Cities do still try, but that's where they're capped. Basically when this happened, they gave cities until 2024 to update their own codes and be ready. Middle housing bill, HB 1110. The point of this was to get 1,000 new homes in Washington by 2044. Back in 2021, that's about what they said we were behind in the state of Washington. So by 2024, or 2044 rather, we'll probably still be behind, but hopefully this will be better. It effectively ended the single family house lot. Like there's no such thing anymore in the state of Washington in any community that has more than 25,000 people in it. So in a city that's 25 to 75,000, you can put duplex on any lot that you can have a single family on, and if it's near transit, you can do a fourplex. Anything 75,000 and above, you can put a fourplex anywhere. You can put a single family house and a sixplex if you're near transit. These just kind of give you some ideas on numbers. In King County, a typical bill is going to be $230K to probably well north of 400, honestly. That $230K is going to be for a smaller daddy. You are not building a 1,000 square foot daddy in King County anymore for 230 grand. But most of the ones that are popular are 3 bedrooms. And if you're in Seattle for sure, you can get $3,800 a month for that, maybe a little better. Annual gross rental is going to be right around $45K. So some of the advantages to this is obviously if you already own a house or you're deciding what to do with a house that has the ability to put daddies on it, you can get the multiple income streams. You're gonna greatly increase your equity and your rate, which you're gonna appreciate because I'm gonna add a whole other house, maybe 2 to the property. And these things are much quicker to build than your average house, much quicker. These are some of our projects. Down on the bottom right here, we have one that is, that's one in Everett, and one to its left is in Seattle. Now, those are actually, I don't know if anybody is aware of this, but in the cities, most of your big cities have their pre-approved designs for daddies. So if you're using a pre-approved design, they're not going to give you any pushback as far as should we let you build this, should we not. If you want to go outside the lines, okay, that's going to add a couple months and you have to do a couple extra things. But if you do the pre-approved ones, you're all good. These 2 on the bottom, even though they don't look like it, those are both the eras. They're just different incarnations of the eras. Kind of give you an idea of what the interiors look like. And then up on the top left is one called the Blakely. That one's in Bremerton. It's we did that one. It is the very first dadu that was done in Bremerton. That one's only an 800 square foot one, but we can build something like that for somebody for like $250, and it's getting $2,400 a month in rent right now. So I mean, not an ideal. I know Thatcher Lynn loves to just do all the ads about how awesome it is with dadus and everything. It's all goodness and light. There are problems, as there are with every single one. Over on the left there is a project we did about 3 or 4 years ago in West Seattle. Out on the right of that, and I know that the picture doesn't represent really well up there, are the power lines. We had the foundation of this house going perpendicular to the alley. Something we learned is, whereas the city might tell you, oh yeah, you're all good, utility companies are a whole different thing and they do not talk to each other. So we got the foundation all done. We're 25 grand into this as far as the build goes. And CLC Light came out and said, well, this is going to fall inside this 14-foot radius that they have on, you can't have anything inside that 14-foot radius around the lines. So we had to change everything. Well, when you dig up a whole bunch of dirt, dirt that's packed in the ground is a certain volume, and then dirt that has been removed from the ground is a whole different volume. So we tried to put it all back. That did not work out very well. Then we got a bunch of rain, and so what you see is our poor guy Brian just trying not to drown inside of what's effectively a mudslide. This one on the right, anyone who knows me understands exactly what this is. This is the project in Seattle that shall not, we do not say its name. We bought 2 lots right next to each other, 2 houses, and we were going to put 1 dadu apiece there. Pretty straightforward. The city of Seattle decided that we needed to replace, because I won't get too deep into this, but they decided that we needed to replace 100 feet of sewer line. So there we are replacing 100 feet of sewer line. You'll notice that that excavator is nowhere near any houses. It's in the middle of the street. That cost 400 grand. I don't know how much you think we were going to make on that project, but that lowered the profit substantially. All right, I'm not going to go backwards on this one. Things we learned, the law is on your side if you want to build dadus now. You will get some municipalities who will try to push back on you, but you just need to put it out in front of them that, like, look, you don't have the authority to tell us no on some of these things. Density is your prerequisite. The further out you go from population centers, the less the numbers are going to make sense on this. Plus, if you're talking about somewhere that's really rural, people went out there because they want to have a whole bunch of space. They're not looking to live, on a single lot with like 2 other houses there. Works just fine in Seattle, but not so much maybe further out. It's very important to understand your permit timelines. Different municipalities have different timelines. If you're in Everett or Seattle right now, you're looking at 6 to 12 months. Like they are not helping the problem. Bremerton, costs about 8% of what it would cost. Basically Everett, let's put it this way. Everett right now you're looking at 32, 33 grand for your permits. And it's gonna take you 6 months plus. In Bremerton, you're looking at $1,800 and they'll have it for you in 2 or 3 weeks. So even though we can't get the same, sale price or whatever else, we can do it so much faster that we don't have the holding costs and the hard money costs and all that other kind of stuff. And it's also very important to understand your local regulations and codes. Things like, for instance, in Everett and most places, you can do 2 dadus, no problem. It's going to be the exact same as doing 1 dadu. There's no distinction. In the city of Seattle, if you're going to do 2, it pushes you into a whole different category. Now you're in this kind of like new construction development category, and you will be waiting probably a year for your permit. So it's important to know that kind of stuff. Also, CC&Rs. These are little covenants and restrictions. I always forget the middle one. But at any rate, these are basically communities have these little rules about them. Kind of like HOA rules. HOAs have CC&Rs, but there are also things that are not HOAs that have that. One of them, they are notoriously difficult to get rid of. And I'll tell you a little story which shows how difficult it is to get rid of these. A good friend of ours has a project, and the CC&R on that project says that, I feel weird even saying this, that colored people cannot own a house there. Yes, wow. Those still exist right here in Washington. For anyone who's feeling morally superior to the South, we still have that crap here. it took the better part of a year to get rid of that thing. And mind you, no one on either side of that, and we weren't involved, this is a friend of ours, but no one on either side of that was thinking that we should keep that around. But it takes just an immense amount of pushing and doing to get rid of any kind of CCNR. I'm not saying just one that has that rule, but CCNRs of any type. So you want to make sure that you're not dealing with a property or a neighborhood where they're going to restrict what you have going on there. I'll just roll through this one real quick. It's important to understand what you're dealing with as far as what your exits are going to be. And mind you, this is looking at as an investor who buys the existing house, which is going to need rehab, all that kind of stuff. If you're in a high density metro like Seattle, Bellevue, whatever else, your exit is to sell. If you own the house and you're just going to build it down, you can rent it out, okay, the numbers will probably work for you that way. But chances are your PITI is going to be just too high in some of those big metro areas, because that initial house that you buy is probably going to be like in Bremerton or Redford. I can buy a house for $300,000 to $500,000. If I go to Kirkland, like I have a friend who just bought a beat up house in Kirkland for about 1.1. So it's going to be very, very difficult to then build your dad use and then get all your money back out of that and make that make sense. Mid-sized cities are kind of your sweet spot, like Everett, Bremerton to some degree, because they don't cost as much. You're going to owe less at the end, and you'll be able to get your money back out, and you have a shot at actually being able to burr that and rent it. Rural is kind of a grab bag. It could be great, it could be not great, but the further out again they are, the less those things are going to be worth for you. So if you're building something for almost $400,000 and it's going to end up being worth less than $350,000, that does not make sense. Unless you're just thinking, hey, I'm going to build it, I'm going to be living here forever, I don't care about the little money I lost early on, it's going to up my equity. Lastly, I'll just kind of run through a little case study. For those of you who will be going on the tour afterwards, we'll actually be very close to this one. If anybody wants to drive by it, it's like a 1-minute drive away. But this is 1630 Scenic Drive in Everett. Over on the left, there's an overhead of what it originally looked like. And basically, it was a 12,000 square foot lot, and there's more space behind that house than it appears. So there's enough for us to put 2 daddies on it. The house itself was not in great shape when we got it. It's also a 2-bedroom, 700 square foot that had no closets. Does anyone know what you need to have a bedroom? Egress on your windows and closets. So we added some because we essentially bought a 700 square foot studio. Permit time on that, by the way, was about 90 days, which is what City of Everett tries for. They no longer hit that. Just saying. Took about 4 or 5 months to build, and this is the build there. I mean, those are getting our initial foundations going, getting it framed, and then pretty close to final there. From the point at which we have it framed, we're less than 2 months from having like a completely done house. A lot of the initial time is just inspections. They will inspect the hell out of a foundation, and they want it, obviously, the framing needs to be well inspected. And I'm not even arguing about this. I'm just saying, hey, that's what will take the most time. And then this will give you a finished product. So there's downstairs right there, the bathroom, and then there's the exterior. There's one, it has a cousin right next to it. When we got to the end of this project, we realized we were doing all right, cash-wise. So we purchased it for $450, rehab about $550 to $600, thereabouts. We're invested for a little over $1 million at that point. We sold the original house for $435, so that plus its rehab does mean we took a little loss in the house. But that left us with debt after the sale of a little over $600,000. So with that, and the fact that the valuation on those two together was $1.25 million, we were able to get a nice rate on we just did rate and term. We didn't do a cash out refi. And so we rent those out. We have PIT on that is probably about $4,300, like $4,350, something like that. and we're able to rent them out for $3,200 a piece. So we cash flow $1,000 per unit, $2,000 with no money left in the deal. That is what now Everett would be your middle market, your medium market. These kinds of deals are absolutely possible in a place like Everett. Much tougher if you're going to your larger metros. And that's pretty much it. Main things is just understand the markets, understand the individual idiosyncrasies of each place that you're going to try to do these types of projects. Do your due diligence. Make sure you understand what the permit situation is going to be like. And if there's one thing that I've learned, always have every city that allows this will allow you to have a pre-application meeting. Go in there. It's 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Tell them exactly what you plan to do, and then they will start telling you, potential problems that you might have. There's always going to be some hiccups in the permit process, all that sort of thing. But man, that'll get rid of like 80% of them. So, and that'll do it for me. Thanks a lot.